What's up guys, Matthew here. This is another episode of Weapons and Weaknesses. Today we're breaking down Khalil Rountree versus Alex Pereira. It's going down this Saturday at UFC 307. There are a few things to get out of the way before we start to talk about specifics. The question that always comes up when Alex Pereira fights is, will his opponent try to wrestle? Because as we know, Alex Pereira comes from a kickboxing background. And to get straight to the point, no, Khalil Rountree will not be attempting to wrestle in this fight. Not only has he not attempted a single takedown in his entire UFC career, but he basically outright said on multiple podcasts leading up to this fight that he won't be shooting any takedowns. So of course, against someone like Magomed Ankalaev, wrestling might be a weakness for Pereira. That's not even in the picture in this fight. Khalil Rountree has been around for a while, but he hasn't really come into the spotlight until recently. He had somewhat of a rocky start to his career, and after he fought Johnny Walker, he moved to Thailand because he felt like he was lacking in his clinch game. And then in his next fight, when he came back, he was completely transformed. He fought Eric Anders and he looked like a Muay Thai fighter, and he just completely demolished him. Khalil is very fast and very powerful, and he throws with a lot of purpose, like he's really trying to do damage with everything he throws. His finish against Carl Robertson was extremely violent. After he sat him down, he threw him down, he soccer kicked him to the body, he tried to stomp on him as he was rolling over. We know his fight with Pereira is going to be a stand-up fight, and I think Rountree's greatest weapon is his explosiveness and speed. We saw this on display in his fight with Chris Daukaus. It was a simple 1-2, but it was extremely fast, and Daukaus really had no time to see it coming. He also has a pretty decent check hook. He dropped Marcin Prachnio in the second round with a beautiful check hook. Whenever he slips, he really likes to lead with a hook. It's almost like an overhand, and then he likes to follow it up with a cross. And this is what he was doing quite a bit against Anthony Smith pretty effectively. A really interesting fight to look at was his fight with Gokhan Saki early in his career. Gokhan Saki is a former light heavyweight champion in Glory Kickboxing, and Rountree completely starched him like a minute into the fight. Saki threw a low kick, and Khalil stepped into it and landed a beautiful cross down the center that dropped him. We know Pereira loves to chop away at his opponent's legs with calf kicks. Khalil is a southpaw fighter and Pereira is conventional, and usually in this stance guys will like to go for the inside leg kick more, but from what I've seen, Pereira typically still likes to go for the outside leg kick. He sort of hops forward with his back leg and then lands the kick with his lead leg, and I almost guarantee you he will do this against Khalil, and this would be a really great moment for Khalil to explode forward. Pereira's leg will be planted on the ground, so he can't really get out of the way. Yuri actually landed this shot against Pereira, and I think Rountree has even more power than Yuri does. About 2 years ago, Khalil fought Dustin Jacoby. He won by split decision, and a lot of people didn't think that he won this fight. I actually agreed with the decision because it looked like he did more damage to Jacoby by the end of the fight, which is the criteria for judging. However, it was very clear by the second round that Khalil has a bit of a cardio issue. He looked significantly more sluggish and reckless very quickly in that fight, and that's problematic because Pereira is really good at punishing his opponents for getting careless. We saw it against Yuri in their second fight when Yuri got dropped at the end of round 1. He went in for a jab, got a little bit lazy and let his right hand down, and Pereira dropped him with the left hook. When he throws these short little hooks as he's fading back, it's fascinating how much power and precision they have. If Pereira throws a jab, Rountree might try to slip on the inside and throw an overhand or a right hook over the top. He did this quite a bit against Anthony Smith. He will also likely be looking to land his straight left, and he's very explosive when he does this. But Alex's speed can't be underestimated, and I think this is a moment where Khalil could get hit with a counter left hook. This fight is also taking place in Salt Lake City, so I think the elevation might make matters worse for Rountree. If we start to see Rountree looking like he did in round 2 against Jacoby, that would be really, really bad for him because Pereira definitely will be able to punish any sloppy technique. Like I said before, Rountree is very explosive, but his combinations can sometimes get a little out of control. He starts to throw big looping shots with lots of space for counterattacks, and I think this aspect of his game gets exaggerated as he gets tired. Now let's talk about Pereira. At this point, Pereira is a star. He looked really good when he started his UFC career. We knew he had a long and successful kickboxing career, so it wasn't exactly a surprise that he made his way to a title, especially in the middleweight division where he was able to dodge a lot of matchups against wrestlers on his journey to his title shot. And since moving up to light heavyweight, he's looked even more dominant, I would argue. 4-fight win streak, 3 of them by knockout. He's just on an absolute tear. He's fighting often, he's got lots of momentum and lots of confidence. Pereira's greatest strength goes hand in hand with Rountree's weakness. Pereira has incredible speed and precision and power, which is why he's such a knockout artist, especially his left hand. He's not a volume guy. He's very selective about his shots, and he has really high striking accuracy. The way he sets up his left hook with jabs to the body has proven to be effective time and time again against all of his opponents. I think his speed in particular is an underrated aspect of his game. Whenever he drops down into his stance, it's like he's a spring that's being compressed. And a lot of the time, his opponents don't know if he's going to be throwing a jab to the body or if he's going to be going up top with his left hook. When you look at the Jamal Hill finish, he landed his left hook while Jamal was throwing across, and the speed difference was very clear between them. He's also very good at landing that left hook while he's fading back, with an exceptional amount of power and precision, considering the fact that he's moving backward while he throws it. His finish of Thomas Powell is a really great example of this. When Rountree gets a little reckless with his combinations and lets his right hand drop, I think Pereira has the precision and the power and speed to take advantage of it, while a lot of Rountree's previous opponents haven't been able to. But Pereira is not perfect, and he will leave some openings for Rountree. Pereira's biggest weakness in this fight is his head movement. I did a breakdown of both of his fights with Yuri, and one of the things I noticed was that when Yuri was coming forward with some combination, Pereira hardly even flinched or moved his head off the center line. He just shuffled back, very nonchalant, and just sort of swatted at Yuri's hands like he was shooing away a fly or something. In their first fight, Yuri was able to take advantage of it and landed some pretty good shots that backed Pereira up to the cage, and he had him in a little bit of trouble at one point. It almost seems like Pereira is so used to being the taller and lankier fighter, so he doesn't quite respect his opponent's ability to cover enough distance to actually land on him. It's like when Izzy rocked him at the end of the first round of their first fight in the UFC. He didn't really move his head when Izzy came forward, almost as if he didn't think Izzy was actually in range. Rountree could come forward with some wild combination, and it's possible that he could catch Pereira while he keeps his head on the center line, especially if Pereira isn't able to move backward. So for example, if Pereira is throwing a low calf kick, this would be a great time for Rountree to attack. And as I talked about earlier, this is what he did to Gokhan Saki. Pereira and Rountree have a ton of power, and honestly, I'd be really surprised if this fight goes to decision. There's a general consensus by the fans that Pereira is going to completely run through Rountree, and while I do think Pereira will win this fight, I wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens. These odds are highly underestimating Rountree, and I think they don't fully reflect his chance in this fight. Pereira was a minus 135 favorite against Jamal Hill, while he's a minus 485 favorite against Rountree. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. So in that way, this might not be a bad underdog bet. In all fairness though, Jamal Hill was a former champion, while Rountree's highest ranked fight was against Anthony Smith, who's now ranked 12th in the division. So that might be where that discrepancy is coming from. But honestly, I think Rountree presents as much danger as Jamal Hill did. If I'm Pereira, take advantage of the fact that Rountree gets significantly more sloppy as he gets tired. His odds of knocking out Rountree, even between the first and second round, go up significantly just based on what happened between Rountree and Jacoby. I think as the fight goes on, Rountree will give plenty of opportunities where he leaves his right hand down and Pereira can look to land that left hand. Whether or not you think Rountree deserves it, this fight will almost certainly end in a KO or TKO. I think Pereira has the edge here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Rountree pulls off a crazy upset. I think a lot of people are underestimating his chances. I was going to do a masterclass video on Rountree versus Eric Anders. That was the fight after he came back from Thailand for the first time, but I don't think I'll get around to it this time. If Rountree wins this Saturday, you'll certainly see that video sometime down the road. If you haven't seen that fight though, definitely go watch it. It was a really, really awesome performance. Anyways, that'll do it for this breakdown. Let me know what you guys think about this one. I'm really excited about it. Thanks for watching.